Greetings and salutations, guys. Rad Dreams here with Rad Dreams here on YouTube as well as on Twitch. And happy spooky season. It's finally October. It's 7 days into October to be precise. So I'm a little bit late on posting this one. And I'm even later because we're going to be talking about the film Sinners today. So just a hair late in posting a review about it. But yes, in the spirit of the spooky season, we are going to be talking about the 2025 film Sinners, directed and written by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan. So very rarely does a horror film come along that deserves a perfect score. It's a tricky genre, right? And it, on average, has had its formula figured out. Typically, movies that find themselves categorized as horror travel down familiar tropes. You have your jump scares, ominous music, your bleak and dreary tones, and that atmosphere to go along with it. You know the cliches. They're called that for a reason. But with Sinners, it is anything but cliche. At first, the feeling of hesitation was kind of permeating through me because I wasn't sure if I wanted to give this film a perfect score. But after much deliberation, I really couldn't find anything wrong with it. And that's not copium. But yes, in terms of cinematography, the director Ryan Coogler does flex his cinematic muscles. When you compare Sinners to his other pieces of work, especially Creed, you can really see the improvement, or rather the perfection that is achieved. No shot lingers, right? And in particular, there's a moment in the film Sinners where the character Sammy, played by Miles Canton, does a musical performance, and it's done in this very, very unique way. It has a 360-degree pan that scans itself throughout the barn, in which this large gathering takes place. All the people from past, present, and future join in this celebration, or rather this jubilation, right? And there's this fusion. There's this coalescence of camera work, music, and choreography. And to me, this is one of the highlights of the movie. And this isn't the only moment that does stick out either. There's a continuous shot that follows a couple characters. First, you have Michael B. Jordan towards the start of the film, where you see him going from one end of the street to the other, as well as some other characters in that scene as well. It's a continuous shot. There's no edit. You can tell that because it just lingers right on that character, but not in a bad way, right? I hate using that word linger because I did just say no shot lingers, but in this aspect it does in a sense, right? That's besides the point. There's another shot that showcases a vampire horde, that surrounds the freaking barn, right? And at the same time, the camera gives the audience like a bird's eye view of the event kind of unfolding. As stated prior, the music plays an incredible and critical role in this movie, as well as sound. Even though this movie is categorized as horror, it could technically, in my eyes, be considered a musical. It plays such a prominent role that it honestly could be construed as that. You are adding to the on-screen imagery, and with that sound design, it really, really elevates every scene, right? And being that this movie does take place in the early days of the South in Louisiana, there's a heavy implementation of bluegrass, country, folk, Creole, gospel, blues, as well as Cajun. And the most impressive usage was, that Sammy scene that we touched on earlier. And in a strange set of coincidence, that vampire horde moment also can be used as that musical example, because it combines gospel with that vampire horde scene to further strengthen one of the metaphors that is used throughout the runtime. And lastly, I want to touch on the acting. I've seen a lot of Michael B. Jordan's films, and I can safely say that this performance is his best yet. And between this or Creed 3, he really, no pun intended, knocks it out of the park. Especially with Sinners, right? And let's just consider for a moment that he does play two characters. I'm of course referring to the twins, Smoke and Stack. Now, while they both look similar, the way they act and sound couldn't be more different. And being that Jordan, studied real life twins to perform this role is very much evident. In addition to Jordan, you have Miles Canton, who plays Sammy. And he steals every single scene he's in, honestly, which is very impressive considering this is his first acting role. The line delivery and the musical performances he does display are absolute dynamite. They just pop, they explode. Mr. Canton certainly does have a bright future ahead of him. I'm very eager to see what else he does, right? And the final actor that I wanted to showcase was Jack O'Connell, who plays the antagonist Remy, or Remy for short. His characterization of the quote-unquote head vampire mirrors that of a violent personification of the forced indoctrination of a extremist group, right? And I know that was a bunch of word salad. So in a sense, he really portrays and highlights those characteristics that you would see in a extremist group figurehead, almost reminiscent of a cult, right? His portrayal is done so methodically well. Like he's so charismatic, and you end up gravitating towards him as the audience member, right? Anytime he speaks, anytime he moves, you're just almost entranced by him, which is a ability that a vampire has. And that kind of segues into that main theme that at least one of the themes I think that is found within this movie, and it's the personification, right, of these extreme forces that we sometimes encounter in real life, which is kind of interesting. So when you have that theme juxtaposed with the music, it really strengthens that core messaging, right? And one of the more unique aspects that guides this theme is the popular myth that just said in vampire lore, right? So we were talking about how in vampire lore they kind of entrance you, they almost mesmerize you, hypnotize you. But there's this other aspect that the film really focuses on. It's that whole concept of getting permission to enter into an occupied space, right? So typically this is reserved for vampires and demons in lore or mythos, right? A demon needs that okay buddy to enter that threshold. Same goes for the vampire. And the film focuses on this as a plot device, and it was so very much welcome and extremely unique. I've never seen a movie use that whole premise of asking for permission from that supernatural aspect as one of the core concepts. You see it definitely, and you see it in like other vampire films for sure, but you never see it done this heavy-handed in a very positive way, right? So it's very deliberate, it is very liberal, but it is so effective because of that. And when you just combine all of these aspects that we talked about, the horror elements within the movie, music, acting, cinematography, all that, you really don't want to miss this one, especially if you enjoy horror or music or just movies in general. Now, I do think Sinners is a must watch this spooky season, or just any time in general. You will want to return to this, honestly. I certainly do, and I can't wait to eventually buy it on DVD or Blu-ray. So yeah, overall, if you couldn't tell, my rating is a 10 out of 10. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that review today. Again, we were talking about Sinners, and hopefully you guys stay safe out there. And above all else, I hope you stay rad. Take care.